Welcome to Touchline Talk by Soccerspective, the show where we dive deep into the tactical brilliance of the game's top managers. I'm your host, Brandon Faust, and today we're spotlighting Ange Postecoglou, the trailblazing Australian manager whose progressive football philosophy has revolutionized teams from Brisbane Roar to Celtic and now Tottenham Hotspur. Ange is known for his relentless attacking style, emphasis on positional play, and a never-stop mentality. Whether you're a coach or a fan, Postecoglou's approach, Ange-Ball, if you will, offers valuable insights into building a high-energy and cohesive team. The Ange-Ball identity, it's high tempo, it's possession-based football. He lives and dies by it. Last year, Tottenham finished 5th in the Premier League. This year, they're sitting in 10th, so they definitely live and die by it, but got a recent result here against Southampton, which we're going to take a look at. They're only 2 points off 6th place, so it's not that bad, but they've had a tough run here in moments in this 24-25 Premier League campaign. So it's high-tempo, possession-based football with an emphasis on verticality and overloads in attacking areas. What's interesting about Ange-Ball is fullbacks invert into central midfield roles during build-up, creating numerical superiority in midfield and just taking a different look and approach. It's a little bit chaotic playing against Ange-led teams, and the Spurs team, you've seen it at times this season. It can be hit or miss. It really works out, like against Southampton, they won 5-0, and then in other matches, they are just longing for these results or underperforming. There's quick ball circulation to exploit spaces in between the lines, and Ange typically sets up in what looks like a 4-3-3. It thrives on attacking width, and then it's supported, like we said, by those inverted fullbacks, like a Pedro Porro especially. We've seen the breakthrough for him. And it creates a diamond in midfield, but often with those outside defenders or wingbacks. And what we'll often see is in the build-out, there might be like a pentagon type shape. You've got your keeper, and then you actually have your center backs that go wide, often in spaces that you might see fullbacks in build-up go to. The center backs go out wide, and then you see often these wing backs move into central midfield positions just to give a different look in the build-up. There's a high defensive line that compresses space that they play with, and it facilitates pressing, quick recovery, counter-pressing, a lot of those themes that we've discussed before. At Celtic, Postecoglou's team consistently overwhelmed opponents just with their intensity, a model that he is now trying to have implemented here at Spurs. And in attack, it almost creates 5 layers. When they move those outside backs into central midfield, there's like these 5 different layers, and then as they move into attack, you have what looks like a flat line of 4 or 5 attackers. You're not sure who the striker, who the winger is, who the central midfielder is. You may even have a wing back that gets not just out wide, but you have a wing back that may stay in those central spaces to create overloads and chaos when they get into the box. So just recently, Tottenham defeated Southampton 5-0. We actually saw Russell Martin get sacked after this match. But in the beginning of this match, it's perfect Ange-Ball. The ball's out wide. There's a beautiful 1-2 pass, and then a long ball that's played in. Then finished off, right? A long ball played in and then finished off. We often see in this next one, there's a 4v2 mismatch, if you will. A ball is played in and then quickly finished by James Maddison, who's been in great form, looked great in the Southampton match. But they create options. They create those mismatches in wide areas, and then there's all kinds of choices of where they're going to attack from next. In this one, and they often get numbers forward. The defense was on skates, has no idea who's stepping to who. They get overwhelmed, and we see a great finish. Once again, on this one, we see another 1-2 buildup on the right flank. All kinds of options. to play it on the ground, but they decide to play it over the top, switch the field to Son with another great finish by him. And again, we have another moment where Son is on the ball, always seems to have about 5 players in attack. It almost looks like positionally a 5v3 because of how they counter press and create chaos. And then lastly, this time we have a build-up completely from the back, carries it into space, plays to Son, 5 players in attack, and this time the variation of a through ball to James Madison with an exquisite no-angle finish, which is turned into a fantastic goal and a great day for the Spurs as they win 5-0. And what we see, even as we looked at these different moments from the Southampton match, is when they have numbers forward, it is often, you may have a defensive system where they're trying to man mark or zonal, but the trends when you play Spurs are very different of who's in what position. We often see play styles, but it's just a little bit chaotic. And when they get it right on the day, what you might end up seeing is, one, lots of numbers forward, but you're going to see trends when you're playing against Spurs where the outside backs are actually playing in central midfield positions and build-up areas, but then they make these crazy marauding runs into the central spaces that you might normally find a number 8 or a number 10 in, but it's these outside backs, and everyone's thinking, okay, well, now where's the 8 and the 10, and who's picking up this? And so if you're doing a zonal defense, it creates all kinds of situational problems for the defending team. And also, it's a huge gamble. When Spurs play this way, they can get hit on the break because they've got so many numbers forward. They could have up to 6, 7, 8 players forwards at times. And so they can get hit on the counter, which we've seen this season. But when they get it right, it creates a lot of chaos for the opposing team. Not to mention, there will be times where the outside wingers, you'll see Kulusevski kind of move into those central spaces, gives him freedom to create. He's a great player, creative player. But what we'll see often is the outside backs create space for the wingers to move centrally. And once again, you've got these 3v1 opportunities between an attacking mid, the wing back, and the left winger, and it just creates all kinds of chaos. You'll see all kinds of shapes like pentagons that they're doing build-up play in. And then what you'll see as well is you'll see they're trusting positionally that their defense is going to be able to hold their own and hold their ground and take their man because of the way that they gamble with numbers forward. So they really lean on their center backs significantly. And then the fitness level is high. When you play this kind of style where you have a wing back moving centrally into attack and then has to recover to defend, it creates a lot of superior fitness that needs to happen, a lot of crazy running stats when you're playing Ange-Ball. So Ange's career, it began in Australia where he introduced an exciting possession-based style with Brisbane Roar, winning back-to-back A-League titles, and his success extended internationally, leading Australia to the 2015 AFC Asian Cup. Postecoglou's philosophy took center stage during his time at Celtic, where his aggressive 4-3-3 system earned domestic dominance and admiration for its attacking flair. At Tottenham, Ange has brought a similar philosophy, transforming the team into a dynamic, possession-oriented side that presses high and thrives on those quick transitions. And what we see as a trend is in that midfield triangle, you have that deep-lying playmaker dictates the tempo, right? It's kind of the quarterback of the system, and then triggers those movements for fullbacks that invert to support midfield, to create more dominance in midfield, to create oftentimes 5 or 6 in midfield. And then when they're doing that in those 1-2 kind of buildups, they're often looking not just to build up small, right? They're often looking for that vertical pass over top to Son, to Kulusevski, whoever it might be. And When you get players like James Madison and Kulusevski to force turnovers in advanced area, that press really gets asserted. The center backs move up the pitch. They compress the field. They control the field, and they get a significant amount of numbers moving forward. He emphasizes positional rotations to disrupt opposition structures. Like we've talked about, you might see a wing back making a run like you would see a number 10 or a number 8. You might also see a wing back doing a traditional overlapping run with a winger. But there has to be this integrity of the structure in central midfield and with the center backs. A lot of pressure is put on those central midfielders and those center backs because they really have to hold their ground. They have to be patient, slow down the play so that the rest of the team can recover in defense. But as a youth soccer coach or as a fan, you see the use of inverted fullbacks. A lot of times fullbacks, wingbacks are just played out wide. They're a huge valuable part, a critical aspect, regardless of what formation you play. They're an important piece. They're kind of the new outside midfielder with a lot of defensive responsibility. But inverted fullbacks is something that can create overloads and mismatches in midfield. So at times, even just giving that as an option, regardless of the system that you play, regardless of the format 7v7, 9v9, 11v11, you can create some small-sided games to train players to get comfortable when they're playing that fullback position, to jump into central midfield to create a different layer, to look for a 1-2 pass. And then you can introduce those scenarios of when to do an overlapping run, when to look for that underlapping run, when to look for that 1-2 pass and then get back out wide to your space. So introducing scenarios where this can be appropriate. Kids 7 and up can really understand those concepts. And once again, as a soccer coach, you don't want to give a script. You want to give options. You want to give options of how you can be playing, what it looks like. And there's some very simple things that you can do to train your fullbacks, to train your players when they're in those wide fullback, wingback positions, how they can check centrally to look for that 1-2 buildup. And when they do that, can they get their head up to even look for, like we see in Ange-Ball, that big switch, that big ball into the box or whatever that might look like. Another principle you can introduce is attacking overloads. Ange-Ball necessitates for these overloads to take place because you're getting those numbers forwards, so that you could create exercises for midfielders and wingers to exploit numerical superiority in wide areas, those overlapping, underlapping runs, through ball diagonal runs. When you create those kind of concepts for all of your players, regardless of position, it gives them freedom to make decisions in the context of a match to give you numerical advantages moving forward. Ange-Ball also uses that high pressing philosophy. We've talked about that with Arne Slot and others, Thomas Frank, and just using what are those pressing triggers in your setup? And where are these coordinated team movements? Teaching your team that defending starts with our number 9. When we turn over the ball, how do we all transition? This can be one of the big mental exercises. Can you create environments to get players, regardless of position, confident in transitioning in what is that defensive space you want them to occupy? Because when you get numbers forward, you get a wing back making a big overlapping run, they are now way out of position for a counterattack. So what do you want your defensive midfielders to do? What do you want your center backs to do? What do you want your wingers to do? And so when you have that pressing philosophy, or even just get caught on a counterattack, what are those defensive positions you want your midfielders, center backs, wingers, wing backs to settle into, to slow down the play and wait for numbers to come back and help you? And then that relentless mentality. I think Ange, we've seen this. We see it in his press conferences. We see it in his, he bets the farm on his style. He knows the style that they want to play, that he wants them to play. And sometimes it comes off and looks brilliant, like against Southampton, 5-0. And other times you start wondering what just happened here. What did they just do? But I love that he creates a team culture focused on intensity, adaptability, attacking intent. So he wants to assert his play style. He doesn't want to react to what the other team is doing. He really wants to be the protagonist. We're going to assert ourselves. We're the centerpiece of this match. We want to play our style and make them adjust to us. And that's what I love about managers like Ange. I love about Marcelo Bielsa is we're going to play our style, and we're going to bet the farm on it, and we're going to see what happens. So Ange, his rise is a testament to innovation. He's bold, right? He really is. His philosophy emphasizes that creativity, positional play, relentless energy, proving that risk-taking and risk-taking actions can lead to success. Do you have players who can have a short memory? You know, if they make a mistake or they get caught out of position, can they go again? Here's how we want to play. Here's what we're going to do. Maybe last time I misread it. Maybe I made an incorrect diagonal run that took me out of position, and then they hit us on the counter. But can they take that risk again? Can they take that risk again? And over a period of a match, what Ange is really betting on is that the number of risks his skilled players are going to take is going to outweigh the risks of playing conservative, right? Let's gamble on taking the risks. Let's commit more game actions than the other team to see if that can provide a path to success. And I know that sounds simple and basic, but there are a lot of teams that just want to set up in a low block, conserve. Hopefully they can bank on, a set piece or some sort of situation where they get one counterattack and they go up 1-0. And I suppose when you're at the bottom of the table, there are times where it's appropriate to play that way. However, my preference and what I love watching and what I think is so, when it's good, it's intoxicating, right? To watch good attacking football like we see in Ange-Ball. So it'll be interesting to see how the rest of the season unfolds for them, but they're going to live and die by this play style. And whether it's when he transformed Celtic or reimagining Tottenham, bringing this play style that had them finish top 5 last season, it offers really valuable lessons. Now, the extremes that Ange takes them are different, but I think there's something for us to all take away, whether as in our appreciation of football or if we're coaching it, of how do we use inverted fullbacks? How do we create attacking overloads? How do we create a high pressing philosophy? How do we have this relentless mentality? And it'll be interesting to see with the addition of European football this year, how they handle the rest of the season. Obviously, the FA Cup coming up. How does he handle all of that? But the pressure's on. I mean, fans just in the last couple of weeks were booing Spurs, were booing Ange. And there's a little restlessness, but I think this, big result against Southampton, and not just the result, but the way that they played, right? They really thrived. They were having those numerical advantages all over the pitch. They were getting those wing backs forward into attacking positions. They were counter pressing. They were recovering well. They dictated the match. And we want to say thank you for jumping into this episode of Touchline Talk, where we talked about Ange-Ball. Be sure to like, subscribe, and join us for the next episode of Touchline Talk as we continue to analyze the minds that are shaping modern football. Also, check out our companion show, Soccerspective Fan Zone, hosted by Jonathan, for more fan-centric discussions as he looks at the total picture of football going on around the world. Thanks for tuning in to Touchline Talk. We'll see you next time.